Ask him if he's done any CrossFit WOD at the facilities, or has he shared any of his CrossFit training with his teammates? Good question, Carlos.
No, not yet. Our schedule has been like absolutely brutal since I've been here. But I have been counting down the days to when training camp does end, and I can kind of start getting back into my own little in my own groove, you know, from a functional movement standpoint. Because we do work out, but really it's just not the same as what I'm kind of used to. Um, so I am ready to get back into it, but I have been on the Slack box a lot. That's kind of one thing that I've kept consistent. Um,
The
they
gym,
actually have,
the
yeah, they
gym,
have Slack boxes in the facility. So
the Chicago Bears have those.
yeah, I know, right? And that's funny. Look, so I see them. They're like hidden in the corner. And one day I'm walking by and I see them. I'm like, because I had brought mine from home and I'd just been using it in my hotel room. But I saw them in the corner. So I go up and make sure it is what it is. And I see them in a bunch of different sizes. And I go up to the strength and conditioning. He goes, I'm like, man, how do y'all know about Slack boxes? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And he was like, what is it? Slack? I'm like, yeah, the Slack box that you have in the court. He had no clue. They just kind of like just had him, I guess. Like he had no clue. I'm saying, you're like, yeah, Jim Kloppman, blah. He's like, who? I'm like, oh man, all right, never mind, never mind.
Hey, so give me an idea of what you do with that. You have it like, do you do the same thing I do? Like when I'm researching for a podcast, I just researching to do a podcast. I'll go in my garage, put something on the TV, and then just basically take turns standing on one foot, touching my toes, doing different
Hmm.
movements on it. Is that what you do?
Yeah, so I'll do. Yeah, I usually just do the three main stances on it. So like putting your whole foot on it, then putting your foot perpendicular to it, then putting it at a slight
Oh,
angle. And I'll
oh,
do that for 3 minutes each, 3 minutes each of each movement on each leg, and try not to touch the ground. And then if I've got more time than that, I usually do it as a warm up. And then if I have more time than that, then I'll get a ball involved and I'll start bouncing the ball off the wall and catching it, and just little stuff like that.
wow. So you're a huge believer in it.
Yeah, I mean, because I read his book, and there was just kind of the way that he was describing it, like um, just like of balance being the sixth and most forgotten about sense, and just how important it is and how detrimental everybody's balance has become due to just how safe and precautionary everything is with like buildings and floors and sidewalks and everything. And people, it's easy to just lose that. And then all of a sudden, you know, you get old and you start falling down and stuff. And screw that. But from a more athletic standpoint, obviously I would like to keep my balance as long as I can. But from an athletic standpoint, just like the more balanced you are, I mean, I could, yeah, sure, I'll take all the balance in the world. You know, just another tool in the toolbox.
I think I remember him saying something like, you're limited. I always think of what he said about baseball. You're limited how hard you could swing the bat by how well you can balance while you're swinging it. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting.
That's what it was. That's what it was. The one thing that stood out to me was in the book. It said you're limited in the way that in the speed in which you can body depending on how balanced you are. And I was thinking, and the first thing that clicked in my head is there was this freaking super stud athlete when I was in high school, that was like so quick and could change direction so fast to the point that it didn't even really make sense. And just like thinking of that, I'm like, oh, he's able to do that strictly because his center of balance is off the chain. Like that's all. That'd be the only other difference between him and another quick fast dude who cannot make these plays. It's just his balance is so centered and good. So him saying that, and then just like the whole neurological system of like when you get better balance, it's not something you just get better at. It's like your neurological system is organizing itself within the different ways that your body is making and balancing, that eventually you're just able all of a sudden you're just able to stand on the slack box for longer one day. Not even because you put a ridiculous amount of time into it, but just because your neurons have organized themselves in a way that they now know how this feels, and they know who needs to fire and what at time. And I thought that was pretty cool too.
Do you so